Yeah. Pranam. Chaitanya Nagar is freelancer, writing regularly for several national newspapers on education, culture, and psychological issues. He is translator and an editor associated with a number of universities and NGOs. In the past, he has been journalist, a teacher, a publisher, and interestingly, he had long association with Krishnamurti teachings and centers of KFI. He has worked joint director of K Center, Vasanta College of Women. That's the introduction for Chaitanya Nagar. For Sanjiv Sharma, Sanjiv Sharma is a writer, and other than exploring deeper questions of life, has deep interest in food and nutrition. He organizes workshops on health and right living. He has got a special profound interest in education of children. That is the introduction. That is the another ritual. Now I request Chaitanya Nagar to unmute and say, we start dialogue. Please mute. Chaitanya Nagar sir, please unmute and say.
Okay, I've unmuted. Can you hear me now? All
Yeah,
of you?
Sanjiv Sharma sir, please unmute. Please unmute.
Thanks, Sushil Jain. To some of the newcomers, I just want to inform that this Indore group of Krishnamurti uh, students, it organizes dialogues twice a week on Tuesdays and Sundays. Sunday morning, they have a dialogue in which the language which they use is English. And uh, long back, when I was participating, they used to organize the Thursday evening dialogues in Hindi. I don't know whether they still continue with the same mm, uh, this thing routine, or they have changed it. But I just want to point out that if there are people who don't understand or don't want to communicate in English, they can ask their questions in their language, and there are people who understand, there are people who can translate. So I just wanted to make this clear at the very outset because I don't think language should ever become a barrier. That's the first thing I wanted to say. We have been discussing because for the last 6 months I have not been able to attend online meetings and talk and participate in dialogues. So Sanjeev and I had been discussing when Sushilji told us to initiate this dialogue discussion today as to what should be the topic of our discussion. What should we discuss? And I was wondering whether the dialogue in the Krishnamurti circle hasn't become some kind of a ritual, just as other religions, the conventional, traditional religions, have their rituals, going to temples, going to mosques, going to churches, offering prayers, performing fasts, going on pilgrimage, all kinds of rituals. Rituals constitute a very important part of any organized religion. I think, I doubt whether they can survive without rituals. They have their festivals, they have their codes of conduct. They give them a separate identity. And that's why there is a lot of emphasis on all kinds of rituals in almost every religion, every organized religion. Krishnamurti, on the other hand, he steered clear of all this, and he offered his approach to religion. And I believe Krishnamurti was basically a religious teacher more than a philosopher or a mystic. He wanted to share with people what a religious mind is. And he offered a completely different approach, which was non dogmatic, non ritualistic, and non traditional. So that makes him very different because there is no ritual to perform. There is no action behind you can take refuge and say that you are a religious person. All I have to do is put a tika on my forehead, go to a place of worship every morning, take a dip in the river if I happen to stay close to a river, and say that I'm a religious person. Krishnaji takes away all that. He says, no, no, no. If you do all that, that doesn't mean that you are a religious person. Stripping you naked, taking away all these rituals and authority of teachers from you. He leaves you alone. He leaves you completely alone with the loneliness of your own heart. Stay with your inner light or inner darkness, whatever it is. Now, how does now what the brain, what we do generally, even if somebody is so drastic, makes sweeping remarks against all kinds of rituals, we have a habit of turning everything into a ritual, don't we? And therefore, it often seems to me that the dialogues that I've been attending since 1995, I don't know how many dialogues and how many retreats I must have attended, organized, mm, and participated in, spoken at. Uh, I see that I often feel that it has become like like a ritual, especially after this online thing has started. I see an authority, like there's a gap between people who know and people who think they don't, people who think they do. There's somebody sitting not on a pedestal, but we just try to put that person on a pedestal. We sort of believe, whether we say it or not, that a person who is in a position of a trustee of the foundation or had been close to K, knows more than those who have never had a glimpse of Krishnaji's physical presence, who have not studied as much as this person has studied. And then that has become, in my opinion, a ritual, fixing a day for asking questions. You fix a day. Sunday is the day when you ask questions. Wednesday evening is a day when you organize a dialogue. I don't have a question on Wednesday evening. I have a question on Monday morning. Now, that fixing a day, having somebody who thinks or about whom other people think that he or she knows more, this emphasis on knowledge, on having more information about it. I think all this has made it uh, into some kind of a ritual. Not may not be as gross as breaking a coconut or offering flowers or chanting of mantra. So that was that. This is that is what we were discussing. Not that what we discussed. It, it there was cynicism in that. We were not like fault finders, but we were just questioning. So we decided that let this be the topic. I think I have just introduced the topic to you. I have spoken a little about why we wanted to discuss whether this dialogue too has not become a ritual. This, after I have spoken, which is about to end now, any moment, Sanjiv will share a PowerPoint presentation, which is basically which will basically tell us what case says about a dialogue. And let's listen to read what he has to share and listen to what he's saying and find out whether we are having a dialogue in the true sense. So, Sanjeev, can we start the presentation now? I can see
Yes.
something on the screen, very
Yeah.
exotic, beautiful. Yeah. Okay. So, please start. I'll read out. You want me to read out every word,
Yes.
every line?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thanks. Okay. Mm, this is the beginning of the PowerPoint presentation. The first question we see, this begins with a question: is a dialogue just another ritual? Like so many other rituals, has it also a different kind of ritual, though a very, mm, you may say, mm, a very creative ritual, perhaps, but still a ritual? That's the first question. Yeah, please, Sanjeev, the next one. Now, this is what case says about beautiful language, very poetic. A dialogue is very important. It is a form of communication in which question and answer continue till a question is left without an answer. I'm sure many of you have read it, almost all of you have read it, but there is a need to discuss some of the things over and over again till they become very clear to us. So, therefore, we are reading it again. So the question is suspended between the two persons involved in this answer and question. It's like a bud with uh, which untouched blossoms. Is there something which I'm not able to see because of this bar that comes? Sanjeev, wait a minute. Uh, Minimize. Yeah. Okay. Now I can see the whole. Please, the next one. If the question is left totally untouched by thought, it then has its own answer because the questioner and answerer as persons have disappeared. This is a form of dialogue in which investigation reaches a certain point of intensity and depth, which then has a quality that thought can never reach. Thought can never reach. Totally untouched by thought. I think these are words that we need to explore. It is not a dialectical investigation of opinions, ideas, but rather exploration by two or many serious good brains. Now, what is a good brain is another question that we need to look at. Yes, please, Sanjeev. In dialogue, we can discover the need to completely set aside our personal conditioning, completely set aside, to die to our own beliefs and formulated experiences, making it possible to see in that unique mirror of relationship the whole truth of what is. Then, if we share in the same spirit of inquiry, intensity, and affection, we may actually find ourselves thinking together. Now, I think we need to explore this connection, this relationship between affection and the ability to think together. Not necessarily agreeing or disagreeing, but seeing, understanding, and thereby sharing as one the same reality. In exploring the limitations of our conditioning, perhaps together we will be able to create a new culture, spontaneously and effortlessly, in which we can live with sensitivity, insight, and love. The first step, which is really the last step, is to willingly surrender, to suspend what we know to be our old ways of thinking and feeling, which separate us from life as it actually is. Yes, please. Next one. Sanjeev ji. Yeah. I think now this is something for Sanjeev to take up and discuss. Right, Sanjeev? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can hear you very clearly. So I think first of all, we should pause. We should take a pause for at least 5 minutes, and we should contemplate over the words which you recently shared. So this we will wait for 2, 3 minutes or 5 minutes, and then we will continue because these were very important words which we need to contemplate and think over. So we just listen what Krishnamurti stated about dialogue, but I think more important is that how we understand it in our daily life. So I think it's very relevant question is what is dialogue? What is a dialogue for us? It is merely an entertainment or some kind of ritual, a pattern or routine, or is it something else? So it may feel slightly awkward, or maybe if we are very sensitive, we may feel that it is hurting. That dialogue is an entertainment for me or just a ritual for me. But even then, I think it is a very significant question, it's a vital question which we need to address. So I will request all of you, if you want to share something about it, so please go ahead, and it will be very nice if we will be very crisp and precise, as well as small as possible. So I will welcome all of you. So please share your understanding. Please, Harshad, start.
Yeah. Okay. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay. Thank you. I like to say something about what I feel about these dialogues. I have been attending such dialogues ever since I joined Rishivali School in 1979. But I came to know about Krishnamurti's teachings in about 1972. So for 7 years, between 1972 and 1979, I had no dialogue with anybody. I just picked up a book just by chance of Krishnamurti in 1972. And when I started reading, I began to look inside me because the kind of questions he was asking in the book where I had not asked myself. And he was saying, why do you think of yourself as a Hindu or a Christian or an Indian? And he says that we are all human beings, and what is happening within us, the same thing is happening in all other people, whether they are American or Chinese. And this I found it very interesting, and it made me start looking outside in other people because before I, wa- I was not curious, neither to look inside nor to look outside, but just something was going on in my mind. So when I started looking, I felt that yes, Krishnamurti was right, and we are all very similar. And then showing from where our problems come in daily life, whether it is a conflict or fear or jealousy or anger. And he was saying that everything is coming from thinking, and from thinking coming this sense of I or me. And so this became very interesting for me to observe how this I coming from thinking. And for 7 years, I looked at all these things, and it really helped me very much, even without any dialogue with any other human beings. But then I started writing letters to Krishnamurti and not asking questions, but sharing what I felt with Krishnamurti by writing letters. And it went on like that. And then what happens in the dialogue which we have is that we are expressing our own views and we are busy listening to what other people are saying. And so our energy goes in trying to understand other human beings, what they are saying, but if we are alone and looking, then all our energy is focused at looking within what is happening. And it is possible to see clearly, even without then reading Krishnamurti books, we can see if we are really interested in looking inward. It is showing everything what is happening within us. And then we can share in the dialogue what we see. So our mind is like a mirror which shows everything, and whether we are having a dialogue, organized dialogue like we have here, or in our daily activities, there are many situations happen where if we are curious, like if we did not respond properly, we got very angry or there was a fear or jealousy, we can really look, and that looking is much more important, how we look. And Krishnamurti says that the freedom is at the beginning, how do we look? So if our looking is very, very clear with freedom, then there is no need for dialogue. But of course, we can share our views like I am sharing our views. Okay, thank you very much.
Atulji wanted.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You have to unmute.
Atulji, yeah, Atulji, please continue.
Good morning. One feels that, am I audible?
Yes, you
Yeah.
are.
Okay. One will like to bring in the statement of K here. First step is the last step. So if one takes into consideration of attending a dialogue like today, In the mental scape, one may be quiet, one may be having a lot of discussion. I will not call it a dialogue. The mental scape, one is having a lot of discussion. And discussion is when there's a, disorderly thoughts coming and going, and each thought pulling into one place or other, or trying to form a group. So that discussion is going on. A time comes, 11 o'clock, and one has to attend a dialogue. One has to attend, one may attend, one may switch it on, put the video off, roam around, do one's work. So all that can happen thanks to our latest technology. Now the question comes. The first step is the last step. Is there a motive to attend a dialogue? Am I seeking something out of it? Am I seeking a conclusion, an answer to my immediate problems? Am I seeking guidance? Am I trying to put forward my views without getting trolled? Because nowadays that is another problem in social media, that the moment you say something, you are trolled. So is that the urge, that probably here we have like-minded people and they will not troll me, and they will in a very gentlemanly and gentle womanly fashion listen, smile, and may not disagree for the sake of politeness, as the matter may be? Or is my motive is to project my knowledge, whatever I have read, whatever I have think, and I think that I am superior to them. And in Hindi, there is a phrase, buddhi vilas. Vilas means that sense of enjoyment, that savoring. So buddhi vilas, so I have a knowledge and I'm entertained. So a very pertinent question has been asked here, that is it an entertainment? So it is an entertainment if I'm enjoying it, because there is a person who is feeling that joy, and that's why that is a motivation of attending this. So this is a very pertinent question one should ask. Why am I attending a dialogue? Do I have something to say, to project, or do I have to take away some takeaway points? Because dialogue can be inconclusive also. As Krishnaji said, that you're remaining with the, there are few things coming up, expressing themselves, and then finally, lingering sense of that question lingers with you. And probably it may turn into a mental discussion again after attending a dialogue, or it may be a dialogue, or there may be nothing. So it's like somebody had once said that a person comes like a bird into a dialogue and leaves the dialogue like a bird. A bird comes in and goes. It doesn't stays there. And same thing can happen with a dialogue also, that I have no intention. Let us have no intention for that. We just meet because we have to meet for the sake of meeting and listening each other. Another point that I would like to say is this feeling of looking at the facilitator or a person who has introduced the topic for the day as an authority. See, we have an option. There's no choice to look at other person as an authority. There's no matter of choice. It is my approach. If I have a motive, then I may agree to the authority of a person. The person may try, may not be trying, or I may not be aware. I may not take it to cognizance because it doesn't matter. It doesn't mind. It is like any other participant participating and sharing whatever is there to be shared. Because the moment I take a stand that the person is an authority or a person is talking from an authority, or why there are so many people who are like facilitator or authority, am I not taking a stand? Then where is the dialogue? It's a discussion because I will already anchor to one particular location in the bank and I'm not with the stream of dialogue. So I can be just like free flowing. One can be free flowing in a dialogue and that dialogue expose or may not expose anything. It is just like we are sitting together having a cup of tea. People may say, then what's the need of attending a dialogue? For sake of attending a dialogue, attend it. Then it is not a ritual. Then it is not a futile exercise. It is just sitting together for sake of sitting together. We may not talk even. Like today, Sanjiv Sharma ji said, let us be in silence. So we are sharing silence. And similarly, we can look at a person who is facilitating or introducing the topic and opening the session of the dialogue as just sharing, simple sharing. Let us be serious about the sharing and not serious of who is sharing and who is not sharing. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Atul. Balram ji, you can initiate further.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I would like to bring in here a couple of things. First thing is that what is the problem in the rituals? Because as traditionally we have seen it, before you go to a mandir, you take a bath, you put on some good clothes or a new clothes or a clean clothes and go to God and offer your prayer and come back. The same way we also switch on our get into digital mode and have a little preparation of putting a good t-shirt or something like that and look at also our background things, how does it looks like that, then you get into the discussion or a dialogue. So what I'm trying to tell is that ritual per se has no problem. Rituals are even the traditional way the people are those who are offering praying or namaz and all that. I don't see any problem in that. Why we are the better than them, or what Chaitanya Bhai has said, that refined or the intelligent exploration. Why should we think in that terms? And what is that? Why we have an observation or rather a reservation on the ritual parts? Rituals are repetitive in nature. If you look at most of our words are repetitive, most of our the thoughts they are repetitive. So it's not like we are not repetitive, we are not doing any rituals. Very often if one listen to oneself or the other, he sees the repetitive of okay things again and again in a different way with a different vocabulary. So to me, rituals has I have no problem with the rituals, and I don't think also any problem. Humanity has got any problem with that. But is what is what is touching me is that what K said that a good brain. What K talks about come with peace because you have to bring it here. It is not here. Like a person going to a mandir, perhaps we have not explored also that what he goes with in his mind to leveling him that it is just rituals, doing arti and all that, and putting into one bracket is, I think we are not much sensitive to that. So what I think about the word ritual per se is not a problem, or I don't see anything worth whether it is ritual or not ritual. What is important is that have you got a good brain? Are you sensitive? Are we bringing that what K talks about? To me, that is more important, and I try to understand and observe in others whether it is there or not. Thank you.
Thank you so much for raising very interesting point. Now I will request Prakash ji to continue.
आवाज आ रही है? डायलॉग का सिलसिला जो है कृष्णमूर्ति के टाइम से जो है चला आ रहा है, और करीब करीब 60 सालों में उन्होंने कंटिन्यूस जो है विभिन्न जगहों पर जो है अपने लेक्चर्स किए, पर्सनल डायलॉग्स किए, और लोगों को भी सुना, बातचीत भी की। ये सिलसिला अनवरत उनके जब तक जीवित थे तब तक चलता रहा। तो उसके बाद भी ये सिलसिला चला, और उसमें ये होता था कि एक एनुअल गैदरिंग होता था फाउंडेशन की तरफ से, और कुछ साल में 2-3 मीटिंग्स जो है छोटे ग्रुप्स की जो होती है। उस समय भी ये क्वेश्चन उठा था कि क्या एक ये पैटर्न बनता जा रहा है या रिचुअल्स बनता जा रहा है। उसमें जो गैदरिंग्स होते थे करीब करीब 60% लोग जो है पुराने रहते थे, तो 40% जो है नए रिप्लेस होके वो आते थे। इसके बाद जो है ये जब कोरोना का ये काल आया, एकदम ये गतिविधियां सब रुक गई, और उस गतिविधियों के दौरान मतलब ऐसा लगता था कि पहले हम जो है साल में 1-2 बार जब जाते थे तो कुछ सीखते थे। फिर ये जब ऑनलाइन ये चालू हुआ, जैसा कि चैतन्य जी ने कहा, उसके बाद इसकी एक डायलॉग की एक बहार आ गई, बहार कि इतने जो है अभी करीब करीब 12-15 ग्रुप्स जो है इस तरह के ये जो है ऑर्गेनाइज कर रहे हैं। और तो उसमें ये हुआ कि कृष्णमूर्ति जी तो एक बहता हुआ झरना था, तो जिनको सुनना समझना अच्छा लगता था, पर उनकी जो है डिक्शनरी जो है बहुत सीमित है। कोई 15-16 शब्दों के बीच में जो है पूरी कृष्णमूर्ति की टीचिंग्स, मेडिटेशन, डेथ, ऑब्जर्वर इज ऑब्जर्व, अवेयरनेस, इस टाइप से जो 15-16 शब्द है उसके बीच में सिमटी हुई है। अभी इंदौर सर्कल की ओर से ही करीब 1.5 साल में 250 से 200 के बीच में डायलॉग्स जो है ऑर्गेनाइज हुए हैं, और जो उसी शब्दों को जो है हम फिर से जो है 2-3 वीक बाद जो है उसी शब्द को या उसी विषय को लेके और फिर बातचीत करते हैं। तो मुझे नहीं पता कि एक जैसे भटनागर जी ने कहा बुद्धि विलास, हो सकता है कि हम बुद्धि विलास के चक्र में फंस गए, या फिर जो है एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए आ रहे हैं, ये वो भी नहीं पता। कुछ लोगों के लिए एंटरटेनमेंट होगा, कुछ लोगों के लिए बुद्धि विलास होगा, या सीरियसली जो है हम इस विषय को एक्सप्लोर करके और कुछ हासिल कर रहे हैं, या एक शेलो लर्निंग कर रहे हैं, इसमें यह खाली भान हो रहा है कि नहीं हमने जो है ये करके और कुछ सीखा है और वास्तव में कुछ नहीं हुआ, और जो हम जो है उसी दुष्चक्र में जो है फंसे हुए। तो ये बहुत सीरियस मतलब विषय जो है संजीव जी ने उठाया है, चैतन्य जी इस पर बातचीत करने को राजी हुए। तो हम सबके लिए ये महत्वपूर्ण प्रश्न है कि क्या जो है हम डायलॉग के बीच में हमारे तो चर्चा हो रही थी, शुरू में तो बड़ा अच्छा लग रहा था कि हम नए नए वक्ताओं को सुन रहे हैं तो कुछ नयापन लगता है, और जब हम 200 बार जो है उसको सुन चुके हैं तो एक बासीपन लगता है, क्योंकि हम जो है वो बहता हुआ झरना नहीं है, हमारे पास वही जो है पुरानी मेमोरीज है, वही सीमित ज्ञान है जो है, हम उसी को जो है दूसरों के सामने प्रदर्शित कर रहे हैं। तो ऐसा लगता है कि हम हमारी लाइफ की स्टोरी सुना रहे हैं, बजाय इसके कि वो जो विषय है उस पर गहराई से बात करने के बजाय कुछ ऐसा फीलिंग्स आने लगती है। तो मेरे को ये लग रहा है इसमें जो है, जैसे बीपी है 80-120 के बीच हो तब तो ठीक है, अगर बढ़ जाए तो भी नुकसानदायक है, और कम हो जाए तो भी नुकसानदायक है। कम हो जाए तो वो जो है एक वैक्यूम क्रिएट होगा, और ज्यादा हो जाए तो अजीर्ण हो जाए। तो एक मध्यम मार्ग में, या एक सम्यक मार्ग जो कहते हैं, इसमें जो है वार्तालाप बहुत उपयोगी है, पर उसकी अतिरेकता भी जो है वो बहुत नुकसानदायक है, और कम होना भी नुकसानदायक है। मेरे को ऐसा लगता है। थैंक यू।
धन्यवाद प्रकाश जी, बहुत ही दिलचस्प प्रश्न आपने उठाए। दिनेश जी, यू प्लीज कंटिन्यू।
Are you able to listen to me, sir?
Yes, very clearly.
Sir, I would like to directly go on the topic. You have raised some points, and I also agree with the Mr. Balram. Why are we putting negative labels on entertainment? Why are we putting a negative label on ritual? Why are we putting a negative level of patterns? Because they all are having their own importance. I will come on the topic later on, but first, let us discuss about entertainment. Right? When I'm having enough boredom, I'm having filled with the boredom energy, then I definitely require the energy of entertainment, which frees me out. Similarly, what is ritual basically? In our tradition also, why tradition is giving so important to ritual? Ritual is basically to train the subconscious mind. Subconscious mind doesn't follow all your conscious mind's logic and instinct. It goes by the patterns as well as it goes by your habits. So once you go to it works on the basis of the images and your situational actuality, which it is tuned to. So it is very important why they have given importance to the ritual. Ritual basically gives you directly the energy. Subconscious mind makes the image of it, and also there are so many components of the other which it stores, and then it immediately reacts on the situation. Even Krishnamurti said perception is action. So at that level of subconscious mind, when you go to a particular place, automatically you get that energy is created. Say I go to the office, immediately my mind gives me the mood of doing all the work of office and all that. I go to my bedroom, immediately I go into the mood of sleeping. So it creates a mood basically. Even you see the colors of the rooms and also are designed in a particular way to give the stimulus to your subconscious mind. So ritual has also got its own importance. See, we see when we attend any Janagana Mana or this thing, we all stand up and automatically get that energy of particular energy. So it is also not having, it has got its own importance. Similarly, you said third, you said that patterns. If I had to learn a car, I have to go give the message from my conscious mind to subconscious mind that I have to learn car. Then I require a practice of driving the car. Then immediately that subconscious mind attends that pattern and it works on that pattern. Similarly so basically these all the things makes my subconscious, my life very convenient, comfortable, and it gives me a soothing effect. And it also avoids many struggles in the life. So this has got its own importance. Now let us, you said that what is other. So when you said other, is there anything which we go into the dialogue? So basically I can say from my experience, since I have listened for 2 years of many other speakers like you as well as Sanjiv Sharma ji and other people, particularly Mr. Harsh Tankha and Harshad ji and all that. So I cannot have in my one lifetime all the experiences which they are having. I directly get the insight. Even Krishnamurti said, in my views, Krishnamurti has pointed out this thing. When we go in dialogue with other, what we get basically, we get a particular in a dialogue, some particular insight comes to you. Why it comes? Because when you share your experiences, whenever a person speaks from his end, he is having some experience, and based on that experience, he is having his views, and from that he speaks. Even Krishnamurti, I think, was also, this is my understanding, that he was having some particular way of thinking, and based on his own some ideas and experiences, which he said he found its futility also, but for working in the life it is a must. So when you go into dialogue with persons like Harshad ji and Harsh Tankha ji and Sanjiv ji, and like, you get an insight basically, and your own thought world enriches by that. So you get many, it also frees you from your own conditioning and your set patterns, and you get other ideas which can work in your real life situations. So basically it also makes your energy free, and you become free. As I have seen in my case, some reactions against the heart, reactions against some other things, and even to look about jealousy and other feelings, there is a definite change. There is a definite change. It may not be instantaneous, like Krishnamurti says, that you will be free of all your vices and all that. But yes, definitely there is a change. So this is what I think. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I would like Mr. Sanjiv to comment on this, as well as Mr. Chaitanya.
Yeah, that we will do in the end. Before that, I will request Shakti ji to please share.
हाँ जी, ये जो रिचुअल शब्द है, हिंदी में हम आमतौर से इसके लिए अनुष्ठान शब्द है, और मैं उसी का प्रयोग करूंगा। और इसको न तो हम प्रशंसात्मक दृष्टि से अगर देखें रिचुअल शब्द को, और न ही निंदात्मक दृष्टि से देखें, तो इसमें कुछ चीजें निहित हैं। एक उदाहरण हम लेते हैं कि ये नवग्रह की पूजा होती है, उसको हम कहते हैं कि अनुष्ठान है, रिचुअल है। अब वो जो नवग्रह की पूजा है, अगर कोई व्यक्ति उसको ध्यान से कर रहा है और उसको उसकी सार्थकता, उसकी मीनिंगफुलनेस भी नजर आ रही है उसको, तो वो जब उसको ध्यान से करेगा तो उस समय उतने वक्फे के लिए उसके भीतर एक किस्म की खामोशी रहेगी। वो चाहे आरती कर रहा हो, चाहे कुछ और कर रहा हो। इवन परंपरा में जो भोजन करने का काम होता है, तो वो खामोश रह करके एक व्यक्ति भोजन अगर कर रहा है तो उसका स्वाद ठीक ढंग से ले पाता है। उसको भी हम एक अनुष्ठान कह सकते हैं, रिचुअल कह सकते हैं। अब रिचुअल के साथ समस्या क्या है, जैसे अभी बलराम जी कह रहे थे कि हम दूसरों का रिचुअल या परंपरा का रिचुअल, उसमें दिक्कत क्या है? दिक्कत ये आती है कि अगर मेरे को उसकी मीनिंगफुलनेस में कोई यकीन नहीं है और ना ही मेरा उसमें मन लग रहा है, मैं उसको सिर्फ इसलिए कर रहा हूँ कि कोई और वजह है, भाई लोग कर रहे हैं या इस वजह से, तो फिर मेरा दिमाग उस समय दौड़ता रहेगा और वो नियम जब बन जाएगा तो यांत्रिक हो जाएगा, मैकेनिकल हो जाएगा। तो मैकेनिकलनेस का खतरा तो उसमें है ही। अब हम लौटते हैं इस पे डायलॉग पे। अब मैं इस डायलॉग में किस लिए आ रहा हूं, मैं अपने आप से पूछता हूं। तो उसके एक कारण पे उंगली रखना बड़ा मुश्किल है। 2-3 कारण हैं, क्योंकि मिश्रित होता है सब कुछ, एक मिक्स पैकेज होता है। एक तो मैं इसलिए आता हूं क्योंकि इन मसलों पे आमतौर से जिंदगी में लोग जिन चीजों में मेरी ऐसी रुचि है कि जिनके बारे में मैं सोचता हूं, जिनके बारे में मैं शायद कुछ अपनी डायरी में लिखता हूं, तो उन चीजों के बारे में ये मित्र लोग भी बातचीत कर रहे हैं वो भले ही ऑनलाइन हो या आमने सामने हो। तो एक तो वो वजह होती है कि उन मसलों पे सुनने का और कहने की बात होती है, एक तो उस कारण से। दूसरा ये कारण होता है कि उसमें अपने आप को ये पता चलता है कि अब हम सोचते हैं हमने कृष्णमूर्ति को सुन लिया, तो कृष्णमूर्ति को सुनने के बाद जो सबसे पहला ख्याल दिमाग में आता है वो ये आता है, कम से कम मेरे दिमाग में तो आता है कि जब हमने कृष्णमूर्ति को नहीं सुना था तो हम लोगों की बात को आधा अधूरा ही सुनते थे, अब थोड़ा उससे बेहतर सुन लेते हैं। तो उस भ्रम का भी इन डायलॉग्स में आकर के बहुत उसके कसौटी पे कसने का एक काम अच्छा रहता है, क्योंकि जैसे ही किसी व्यक्ति ने ऐसी बात कहनी शुरू की जो हम पहले भी कई बार सुन चुके हैं, तो हमारा जो मन है वो बिदक जाता है और वो अपने भीतर की उस प्रतिक्रिया को देखने का एक मौका मिलता है, हमारे भीतर क्या चल रहा है उसको देखने का मौका मिलता है। तो ये एक जो चीज है, तो अगर उसमें सार्थकता नजर आ रही है, और रिचुअल का जो दूसरा अर्थ है, एक तो जो उसका प्राइमरी अर्थ है वो तो ये है कि अनुष्ठान वाली बात, दूसरा एक अर्थ ये है कि उसमें ये भी है कि हम कहते हैं ये तो रिचुअल हो रहा है, मतलब वो यांत्रिक हो रहा है, मैकेनिकल। तो मैकेनिकल होगा कि नहीं होगा ये तो इस पे निर्भर करता है कि आप उसे किस तरह से अटेंड करते हैं। और मनोरंजन की जहां तक बात है, स्टिमुलस हम कहें, तो नेचुरली अगर मुझसे कोई पूछे अभी कृष्णमूर्ति के डायलॉग में आप क्यों शामिल होते हो, आप दूसरे किसी और डायलॉग में क्यों शामिल हो जाते हो, तो मैं कहता हूँ वहां से मुझे एक किस्म का इंटेलेक्चुअल स्टिमुलस मिलता है। तो बहुत सारी चीजें मिली जुली होती हैं। तो डायलॉग रिचुअल है कि नहीं है, इसके बारे में ये हमें ही अपने आप को देखना होता है। मुझे तो ये बहुत उपयोगी लगता है, इसलिए मैं इसको इस अर्थ में रिचुअल नहीं मानता कि ये यांत्रिक है। हाँ, यांत्रिक हो सकता है, और यांत्रिक तब होगा जब मैं जैसे आप लोगों को मैं ये सोचता हूँ
आपकी आवाज
मुझे हाँ मुझे लग रहा है इनके इंटरनेट में कुछ समस्या आ रही है, तो
आप वीडियो बंद करके करें।
हो गया बस मेरा।
हमने लास्ट वाक
अच्छा
आखिर में जो बोला उसको रिपीट कर दीजिए।
हाँ हाँ जी, अब आ रही है मेरी आवाज?
हाँ जी, बहुत बेहतर, काफी बेहतर, काफी बेहतर।
हाँ 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 हाँ। तो लास्ट में मैंने क्या कहा कि जो मेरे लिए ये यांत्रिक अर्थों में रिचुअल नहीं है। लास्ट में मैंने ये कहा कि अगर मैं सोच रहा हूं उन क्षणों में आपको सुनते हुए या हर्षद जी को सुनते हुए या किसी को भी सुनते हुए कि अब मुझे क्या कहना है, कोई ऐसा मुद्दा आ गया जिसमें मुझे कुछ कहना है, तो मेरा अगर सुनना बंद हो गया तो वो फिर यांत्रिक हो गया, वो फिर मैकेनिकल हो गया और वो मुझे थका देगा। बस जी इतना ही मुझे कहना। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत ही दिलचस्प और बिल्कुल नए पहलू को प्रस्तुत करने के लिए। नाउ आई विल रिक्वेस्ट MJ टू कंटिन्यू।
नमस्कार एवरीबॉडी।
नमस्ते, कैसे हैं आप?
हाँ मैं ठीक हूँ, आप लोग कैसे हो?
बिल्कुल बढ़िया जी, ठीक है।
It is a very important point which Sanjiv and Chaitanya has brought forward. That is what is dialogue. Understanding that is very important because in year 1995 I encountered accidentally J. Krishnamurti, and since then I started attending dialogue meetings happening in Mumbai as well as Bangalore. But what I was seeing is that there was a kind of predefined topic, predefined quotation, and then people were exchanging their thoughts. But there was something missing. But then later I joined Sahyadri Study Center as a coordinator, and when I was coordinating dialogue meetings, I really started experiencing what is dialogue. And then what I realized is that there are different ways of communication. So commonly when we say debate, I'm trying to prove my point. I'm not interested in understanding anything, but I just want to prove my point. Then there is a discussion, which is mainly to share our knowledge and views and opinions, and others do the same. But when it comes to dialogue, what I realize is it is like a communication between two friends, where there is no authority, where there is no predefined agenda, or there is no intention as such. It's more like inquiring from inside. The thing is that what I feel is dialogue needs to start with a question, not with a quotation or not with predefined topic. Because what happens is when we define something, our thinking starts on those lines. There is no openness in that. There is no real inquiry in that. Why we need dialogue is because if we are having discontent, when you are not happy with what is happening around, you are trying to find out the things, find out the solutions, or find out different ways, and you are inquiring inside you. But we have limitations. We have limitations of our own nature, our own surrounding, our own upbringing. There are many limitations in every human being. So what happens in dialogue? We inquire together. So I have a question and I'm not able to resolve that, or not able to reach to that. So I put that forward in between friends. And then friends do suggest something, or they also inquire. So I look at dialogue in this way, that it is a kind of a communication between friends. Since right now we are talking only about dialogue, I'll limit myself to this. Thank you.
Thank you, MJ, for this wonderful discussion. Now I will request Durga ji to continue.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah,
I hope I'm
I can
audible.
hear.
Yeah,
Absolutely clear.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's a good session, I must say. And I think it's very interesting to hear all the participants' contribution. In fact, I got a real appreciation to say, I must say, appreciation to whatever their contributions are. They are like, things are coming from out of one's learning and one's, from recesses of a heart. That's what my I've been listening to all these things, so I have to say that. So I think as far as all these things are going on, I think it's very essential also. I think, let me just have to say what my understanding about Krishnaji's teaching. He talked so exhaustively about each and everything that's concerning our life, our human existence, and about the world. There are so many issues of them. And it is not possible for one person to understand entirely the one thing in one go. I don't think it happens, it ever happens like that. Because human consciousness, like, I think the previously one has suggested, we have that subconscious, unconscious, and all those conscious levels are there. And having people who are so mired in our own thoughts and engrossed in our own world, our problems and our issues, of course, they are real to us. Of course, they are real. So it's not possible for us to, one person understanding everything and be with it. I don't think it happens that way. Maybe there's an illusion. One is, entertaining in their own lives. So the discussions are important because in a group who are the people who are interested in teaching, who have been reading Krishnaji for so many years, and when they come to the table, when they come into the discussion room, definitely they bring their own understanding, their own perceptions. And here we have such a good gathering, people who have spent time and years with Krishnaji. When they share their perspectives, definitely it's a good pointer for other people. So as long as I think this has to happen, and I think I do feel there is a need for these discussion forums, because the more you go into them, the slowly you are drawn to them, and it's about rising the levels of human consciousness, not one person getting it or not one person getting not that. I feel And it's about, learning mind. If you are learning mind, if you're listening mind, you listen from everybody. You listen to, listen from, that's what he said, listen from the nature, listen from the falling tree, falling leaf, listen from the, wrinkles of an old woman, learn from everybody, learn from everything. So I feel that's why slowly and gradually one moves towards the, understanding, the perceptions. The more you one is at it, the more the deeper the perceptions become. And it's an endless river, and it's so many times it's very important that one needs to shell out their own illusions, their own images which they have gathered, and that can happen only when one is in actively participating and listening to others also. Otherwise, one can have an image of oneself, and they can continually sit in one corner, and they can keep telling that they have understood everything. Only these discussions and these kind of a group collective interactions allow other people to see where they are, and allow us also to see where we are. So I feel this discussions and dialogue, of course, maybe it's between only one or two people. If they're so intense and if they are in the same page, and if they're really interested to go into that, then that can happen as a dialogue. Like, when Krishnaji was speaking with the David Baum, I think, I think as far as my understanding goes, the fruitful dialogue is to happen between those two, because David Baum was also equally perceptive. At least he was able to catch what Krishnaji wants to say. Rest of the places, Krishnaji was the sole speaker and everybody was listening. And it's going to take a long, long time for human consciousness and all of us to gather, understand a little bit of what he's trying to say, which way he's pointing to. So I think these are the need of the hour, and these are need to be, of course, and everybody has a right, whether if they're not feeling it's up to them, and it's not the dialogues and discussions are not interesting to them, they can always have the right to go away. But I feel more and more dialogues and more discussions are the need of the hour. That's what I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Durgaji. Is there any other participant which wants to share and who haven't shared yet? So we are reaching towards the concluding part of our dialogue, which is a dialogue which is about dialogue.
How much time do we have?
We have around 20, 30 minutes.
21 minutes.
Yeah.
You have 21 minutes.
Okay, so I will just add a little more, and only see, it's very interesting to listen all of you, and it happens when we listen, immediately there are certain reactions inside us. There are certain things we agree, and there are other things with which we are not agree. So if we just want to share that expression, but I don't want to go into that. I listen all of you, and whatever you have raised, that is with me. There's no need for me to react to that or respond to that. I will just want to be with that understanding and finding out and exploring it. Only thing I would like to say is that it is our responsibility, my individual responsibility, to make a dialogue meaningful. Dialogue in itself is nothing. It's just a process or just an activity. It is up to me what I am going to do with it. So it is my responsibility to make it meaningful, to make it something important which play a role in my life, to understand, to explore my life in a better way, and to deal with the deep and profound questions of life which I am living in my day-to-day life, in my working, in everything, whatever I am doing. So it's just my responsibility, and it's not others' responsibility. It's not your responsibility or other participants' responsibility. It is my responsibility. So now I will request Chaitanya to comment.
Okay, thank you, Sanjiv. And I listened to all the participants who shared their views. Shakti ji, Mangalesh. Oh, I think Harsh Sir wants to
Yeah,
say something.
yeah,
Sir,
I
please
will
go ahead,
request
sir.
Harshad. Yeah, please, Harshad, you
Please
continue.
go ahead. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't notice the hand.
Yeah, because probably he has raised hand after some time after
Well, thank you.
hesitation.
I've
Yes,
listened
sir.
very carefully to, and as Sanjiv ji says, when you listen, there are things that you find yourself agreeing with, and there are things that you find yourself not. Still, you listen and you try and understand what the person is saying. And so I thought first I would make a little comment. So I'll respond to some things, but first I would make a comment about dialogue itself. I think it's fairly clear that dialogue is coming together, but the kind of dialogue we are talking about is not sitting around a cup of tea talking about a cricket match and Kohli's performance or why he's not performing. There is some deeper intention to that. And I'm using the word intention very carefully. Every word I'm going to use just now, I am going to use very carefully, because that is what dialogue is. Dialogue means dia, logos. Dia means through, logos means word and reason. It's the Greek word for word and reason. And this is us, through words, knowing the imperfection of words, knowing that words can convey only a limited aspect of whatever we are talking about. Knowing that also, and this is very important to know in a dialogue, that words don't have exactly the same meaning for everybody, that somebody else may be using a word, and I'm going to focus on the word intention in a minute, as a word that we may be using differently. So part, and that is almost the initial part of a dialogue. As Krishnaji's, it means coming upon a question. Now, to come upon a question together, you need to be on the same wavelength about that. And a lot of preliminary, what happens in a dialogue is us becoming attuned to the way other people express themselves, to the way that different people are using words, even sometimes using the same words in a very opposite way. So it's a means to communication. So the first part of a dialogue, and most important part, is the coming together, that we are actually being able to understand each other and not misunderstand each other. Because language and words can separate us just as easily. So that is why I'm focusing on the words, because we are here trying to understand truth through words by turning our attention to them. And that is essentially what dialogue is. Now, I would say that that is an intention. Krishnamurti was very strong in intention. He spoke always about the intentions of the schools that he started. And he spoke about his intention. His intention was to bring about the transformation of the consciousness of mankind, not a motive. So we have to be careful here. Motive, aims, it's not an aim. An aim is what you go towards. It's what you, an intention is what you start with. So that is the important thing. Our intention here. What is the intention with which we are coming to a dialogue or to a meeting of friends? Why? What is the intention? Is the intention to come to truth and to come to truth together? And perhaps the fact that different people are turning their attention on towards something will begin to throw light on matters that we might not by ourselves, with our own limited perception and understanding, be able to. So I think that is the essential intention of a dialogue. And I think Shakti ji was very clear in everything that he said. When we lose meaning, it becomes mechanical. And that is the problem with ritual. There is a problem with ritual. We can't say there is no problem with ritual. Krishna ji says there's a problem with ritual. Even this topic, even the way it is phrased, is there a danger to it becoming ritual, implies that there is something wrong if dialogue becomes merely a ritual. So there is something about a ritual. And the problem with ritual, of course, is that it can lose touch, and often does. Especially everyday life, you will see many people performing rituals without any contact, with any depth of meaning. It may or may not. I'm not saying it always is necessary, but mostly it becomes a ritual. So this is what I would like to say about intention, that the important thing is how we come to a dialogue, what we come with. Obviously, we have our understanding, limited maybe. Obviously, we have our own history, each of us, which we bring, of course. We can't avoid bringing that with us. But it's the intention to communicate with another, to listen to another, and come together in this search for truth. And that is far removed from being a ritual. Because if you look at the meaning of ritual, it says performing certain steps in a prescribed order. That's what a ritual is. We go to the temple, we take some shal, we offer it to the gods, flowers, light a thing, recite some verses. You know, it's set out. Or a marriage ceremony, it's all set out. And a marriage ceremony is important because actually all kinds of things are being said in Sanskrit, which may be important for a marriage, but mostly the couple sitting there has no idea what is being said. The meaning is completely lost. So that is what happens. The ritual just means performing things in a certain steps in a certain order. And that is not what dialogue is. It definitely is not. So I think that's probably, there's a lot more I could say, but
thank you so much, Asdi. Very beautifully you portrayed everything. Now I will request Chaitanya to sum up and then we will conclude.
Yeah, thanks, Harshji, for your insights. There's something that I feel is very important in a dialogue, and that is silence and listening, regardless of whether we agree with the person who is talking about something or we disagree.
We may agree.
We may disagree, but I think what is important is, are we also listening to our own agreements and disagreements? So I think a very deep, a very different kind of listening is needed in a dialogue. And silence. There has to be sufficient silence in which we can actually listen to one another. As Harshji pointed out, the origin of the word, the Greek origin, the word dia doesn't mean two. He didn't say that it means two, but it doesn't mean two here. It means through. And a dialogue can happen. There was some message in the chat box where it was mentioned that it's between two people, conversation between two people. It doesn't have to be a conversation between two people. There can be many people in that. What is important is the word logos, which means words. But actually, in a dialogue, the word logos doesn't just mean words, it means a meaning. So among the participants, there has to be a flow, some kind of a flow of meaning among the participants and through them. There has to be that very clear understanding about the meaning of the words which is being used. So a dialogue, that meaning, that shared meaning becomes some kind of a factor that binds the group together. It's like, I think David Bohm used the word glue. It's like a glue that holds the people in a dialogue group together. That meaning, instead of the word, instead of using the word logos in the sense of words, I think we should use it as meaning, as some shared meaning. And the purpose is to arrive at some kind of a general understanding, and that understanding may be very different from the starting point of the dialogue. As Mangalesh said, that we shouldn't start with a predetermined topic. Even if we start, but the general meaning that we arrive at the end of the dialogue, it may be very different from the starting point, which means there is an openness. There is no insistence that this is what we stick to, this is what we discuss. And I think, so, one more thing that we need to understand about dialogue is that it's very different from a discussion, and Atulji talked about it. Uh, just as in a dialogue, the need is to have a meaning which is shared, there is a flow of that among the participants. The word discussion has a different origin. As far as I know, it comes from the word concussion, which actually means breaking something up, indulging in dissection, analysis. I think that's a major difference in a dialogue, between the dialogue and a discussion. In discussion, I want to flaunt my knowledge. I want to score a point over somebody. I want to prove that what I am saying is right. If I say dialogue is a ritual, I want to prove at any cost that it has become a ritual. It is becoming a ritual. But if I approach this with an open mind, and at the end of the dialogue, I may come to a point where I reconsider the whole thing, because I have listened to others. I see that there's a lot of sense in what they are saying, and then I may completely reconsider it, which again is a provisional thing, which again may not be a permanent understanding that I have, that this is not a ritual. The problem with ritual was, as has been pointed out, is it becomes mechanical, it becomes repetitive, and therefore it loses. Krishnji talks about the tradition that has lost its soul. It loses its soul. It just becomes a source of some kind of exchange of intellectual sensation, of showing your knowledge. And I think these are the things that turn a very creative exercise into a ritual. And this is what we need to avoid and understand. Now, how does that happen? How do we stop a dialogue from becoming a ritual? And you see, whenever Krishnji gave a talk, whether he had a dialogue with a small group of people or whether he addressed general meeting, he always kept asking, are we together in this? Are we together in this? Are we thinking together? Now, that thinking together, how does that happen? That's a very important question for me. How do we think together about something? We all come from our different backgrounds. We have our different, conditioning. How do we think together about something? How do we have a common uh, agenda? Do we have a common question so that we can think together? Do we think together only when we have a common problem, common question, or there is some other way in which we this thinking together can happen? That's also a question which I would like to raise um, mm, in this session, and I think we should explore it when we have time. Now, the in order that a dialogue may become a free flow of meaning between people, that there is a communication, which means what is being communicated is being listened to. There is the response from the person who is listening to this, and the content of what is being communicated. All the ingredients of a healthy, meaningful communication are there. So I think this is very important that we look at the whole process of dialogue. I think David Bohm went very deeply into it. He also said that we often talk a lot about thought, but we don't examine thought process itself, how thought functions, and so on. I think uh, in all, it was a very interesting session. There was a lot of participation, which was something very important. Many people expressed their views, they shared their insights. Uh, there is not much that I would like to add, except that yes, it is the approach which is important in itself. A seemingly very creative thing can be approached in a ritualistic manner, and at the same time, something which appears very mechanical outwardly can also be approached in a very creative way, and in a non-ritual, like the way we eat every day. It can become a very mechanical thing, but we can also eat in a way which is actually not mechanical. It's very creative. So I agree with many participants who said that eventually it depends on how we approach it, how we approach a dialogue. Are we doing it because we want to show off our knowledge, or we want to show how deeply we understand Krishnamurti, or we are discussing, we want to fight, we want to prove our point, or we are approaching it with an open mind, with a mind that wants to learn, with a mind that wants to, it is prepared to set aside whatever opinions and beliefs it had before the dialogue began. Because I want to learn whether it has become a ritual or not, whether we can stop it from becoming a ritual or not, and therefore, whatever opinions I have about this, am I prepared to set that aside and look at it uh, as the Zen Buddhists say, with a beginner's mind? Can I look at it afresh? I think with that, I want to end. I've raised a few questions. I would just want to leave with those few questions. Thank you, Sanjiv.
Thank you,
Chaitanya,
Chaitanya ji.
Chaitanya sir, the time is not left. Only 1 minute. 1 minute is left. I have to announce Gopalan's lecture on next Sunday. Unpacking Intelligence is the daughter of wisdom. So all of you are requested to join it. And dialogue is basically opening a window. If you wanted to open it, open it. If you don't want to open it, don't open it. But the scene after a window will change. It changes. The scene inside you also changes. If you silently observe that, then that is the two gathering before thinking together. You should gather first of all yourself to be eligible to together thinking. What I feel in person. That's all. Time is over. So thank you very much. Thanks to
Thank you
Chaitanya
so
sir
much.
and Sanjiv sir and all participants, and those who have silently participated, they get more benefit out of this, what I feel in person. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji and Chaitanya ji.
Thank
Your
you, sir.
summing up was excellent, Chaitanya ji. I think you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, there are some messages in the chat box which could not be addressed. I'm sorry.
So you can read that. You can read them, sir. If you wanted to read them, you can read them.
There are mostly observations and not questions. So,
No, but the observation are also important. If you
okay.
wanted to read it, it will be my pleasure. I will think 1
There,
minute or two.
there is one from Deepika Chatterjee that who says communication between two or more people, reflecting on a chosen topic, or with one's mind questioning life or other topics. Then there is another by from Mr. Shankar who says dialogue will have beauty if we are sensitive enough to let others speak. You learn nothing by speaking, but can learn from hearing. We always want to talk, talk, talk. The same stuff which we are speaking for years. We are not even aware that I am speaking same stuff in every Zoom meeting for years. Then another from Shankar ji again. Mm, Sir, can I find your videos on YouTube? I don't know who is it addressed to, but today's dialogue, KRC, today's dialogue was really a dialogue as people contributed insight and mm,
Will be available by opening Harshad Parekh in YouTube.
okay, thank you very much, all participants. Shakti ji says, Durga Rani says, one gets drawn into all this slowly, and from then onwards, it's one's own journey. So these were messages that could not be addressed, but thanks all of you for sharing these messages with us.
Thank you so
Thank,
much.
thank you very much. Kamlesh sir, please close it now.
Okay, sir.